Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. Welcome back to the Alliance Tournament. I'm here with my commentator, Reload, and it seems that Spectre Fleet have decided to take this match incredibly seriously, bringing along their flagship Armageddon as piloted by Virion Stoneshard. Why don't you talk us through what that flagship is going to do, Reload, in that comp?
Well, you see the flagship Armageddon from the Spectre fleet. I have a feeling he's probably going to have those long-range officer units. Since the Armageddon gets an energy neutralized range, that means this Armageddon can almost nuke pretty much half the arena, easily going to that 50, 60, 70 kilometer, even pushing maybe 75. So those long-range nukes may be able to shut down a logistics, even if it's really, really far away. So, and it can probably put some extra tank on there and have some extra utility there, but that Armageddon is going to have packed full of those X-type newts, which is oh so very powerful on an Armageddon. But this positioning is quite scary for Brave. They warped their Balgon at 0, while Spectre Fleet have brought their entire quad BC core and their flagship Armageddon on top of the Balgon. We might see a SNEF 2.0 match here where this Balgon is just going to get absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, Brave Collective, on the other hand, bringing a slightly more defensive version of Spectre Fleet's comp, trading out 2 of those Purifiers for 2 Daredevils, and then putting the points into giving themselves that Balgorn. But obviously, with that Spectre Fleet bringing their flagship, it's going to give them roughly the same power. So Spectre Fleet has the advantage here, I think, right at the start of this match. And here
Absolutely.
we go.
And I want to see who's going to be primary, and the Balgon is taking a lot of damage. So no surprise there, the entirety of Spectre Fleet's damage is on the Balgon, but they've already lost a Purifier, so Brave is going to try and headshot those Purifiers and Hounds. That's a lot of squishy damage there, so they have to get rid of that ASAP. Meanwhile, Brave's Balgon is dying very quickly. And not surprising, all these Blaster, Navy Brutixes and Navy Homgers all at 0, and they are doing so much damage. He's in half armor. He might be able to stabilize, but Spectre Fleet are losing bombers.
Watch that Balgon's positioning, though. It's so interesting. He's going into the mix with Spectre Fleet. He's making sure to keep Gnosis and Webs on that Aneros, stopping him from getting away. They know that that Armageddon is going to be able to put newts on their own Aneros throughout the entirety of the fight. So they're making the aggressive move, taking out as much DPS as they can and trying to wear through the cap of that Aneros. This is so intelligent from Brave. They know they're at a disadvantage, and they're making a very aggressive play to try and take advantage of us. This is something we've not seen from them before.
Absolutely, and the final Hound for Spectre Fleet is down now, so they have no bombers left. Meanwhile, Brave they might lose their Balgon. I mean, it's solo, and he is finally down, but that is a lot of time on just the Balgon. Meanwhile, Spectre Fleet have lost all their bombers.
And look, you can see there, the Daredevil Webs getting on top of that Aneros. Newts have already done their work. You can watch how quickly that Aneros is going to fall now for Spectre.
Absolutely, he's literally in armor right now, and he is going into structure very soon. This is not what you want on an Aneros. He's webbed down, and he just got immediately luked. Meanwhile, on the Brave side, their Balgon, I mean, it didn't even matter anymore because their Aneros is just keeping up those Brutix navies just fine.
Yeah, this is so interesting from Brave. They've made such an intelligent play here, trading just 1 Balgon for practically the entirety of Spectre Fleet support and their logistics. And whilst their own Neros should be starting to turn off, he's gonna be having been worn down by that Armageddon's newts. It doesn't look to be affecting them. Those Navy Harbingers, those Navy Brutixes, they're still putting out the damage because the Armageddon was forced to put its newts on that Aneros. They couldn't wear through the cap of those mainline DPS ships and turn off their guns, and it's leading to just a huge advantage here for Brave Collective as they're burning through Navy Brutixes without a problem.
Absolutely, I think it's cleanup mode now for Brave right now. They lost their Balgon, but in reality that doesn't matter because they wasted so much time trying to kill that Balgon while Spectre Fleet were just losing bombers at that point, and it is definitely cleanup mode right now. The Armageddon is trying his best. He's actually trying to nuke out the Navy Brutixes and the Navy Harbingers, obviously the very cap-heavy ship for shooting, so that he's trying to nuke them out, trying to get rid of that much DPS as possible, but in reality it's just an Armageddon and a Navy Brutix at this point now.
Yep, Brave Collective making the clever choice, going for those 4 purifiers, sorry, for those 4 bombers right at the start of the match, using those tracking bonus, incredibly long range, medium turrets from the Navy BCs to their proper purpose, killing off the support right at the start of the match before it could get transversal, and just lowering the amount of DPS that Spectre Fleet could bring to bear, whilst only losing, the utility on their own team, which isn't necessary in this mirror match. Brave Collective showing a strong understanding of how to run this comp, and not only run this comp, but also how to get around an opponent bringing the same thing. This is incredible play from them.
Yeah, Spectre Fleet were, their warpings were far more aggressive than Brave Collective. The Brave Collective were very reserved, all warping at 50, while Spectre Fleet's entire core warped in at 0 on the Balgon, and they thought, obviously, let's go kill the Balgon, he's at 0. Psych, we just killed all your bombers. So
yeah, the real question is, do they leave that Navy Brutix alive so that they can loot the Armageddon wreck? Because obviously, there's going to be some lovely, juicy stuff in there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a potential. He is actually taking quite a lot of damage now, so I think it's a little time for him now. Yep, he is now down, and Brave Collective, doing the Dream Team, 100 points to 23, and only losing their Balgon. We'll send it back to studio with that.
Yeah, we'll send it back to the studio for that one.
Would you say that has been a top tier target calling?
I would definitely say it's a unique tier target calling.
Should be fine.
Nope.
I love EVE Online!
Well, welcome back from that crazy match between Spectre Fleet Alliance and Brave Collective, and what Elise might call a little clowny at times, with Brave bombing all of their own drones rather than Spectre Fleet drones, and Spectre forgetting to do bans, which is fairly important. We did see the Spectre Fleet bring out their flagship there, which unfortunately died, that flagged Armageddon, poor man's Balgorn, if you will. We can bring up that kill mail on screen for you just now. The kill mail of that flag Armageddon. Haven't got that moment, apparently. What we can bring you, however, is the instant replay of the exact moment 2 Titans of value died in the Rabisu from the Waffles match. Here we go, as it's surrounded there by Red Alliance Harbs, with the final blow going to Scordiff in the Navy Harb. He's got to be happy to have it on his kill board. There we go. They switch the primary to it. They focus it down. They've gotten rid of all the tackle. They've got rid of everything stopping them. And then they, even though it looks like they might be beginning to lose the match there with their Logi loss, they go, no, we need to kill their Logi to win. And thus, the Rabisu falls down through armor in a mere matter of seconds, down through the bottom of armor. Oh, we've done mega slow motion for this. Okay. Waffles there, you can see trying to kill a Navy Harb, trying to get through it as fast as possible, probably overheating like mad on it, just to try and pull enough damage off of the Rabisu to get it away, but no, the Rabisu drops through structure and pops. Very, very sad to see a Rabisu down, as obviously they will never, to our knowledge, be replenished. That is one less Rabisu in existence. As, of course, all of the ships used in the Alliance tournament are bought and paid for on Tranquility. These are real losses to the Alliances. It can take, the top Alliances probably spend several trillion ISK in the order of building their flagship, having a stack of AT ships. Because obviously if you have an Intana comp or a Rabisu comp, you want to be able to field it more than once. That means multiple AT ships. You maybe want to have a couple Malices around. You maybe want to have, what are the other good AT unique ships, Brett?
I definitely think an Intana, as you mentioned before, is a wonderful ship for AT. It's one of the AT ships that can do logistics along with the Rabisu, which means, as you've saw it in previous tournaments, it's been fielded a lot, which means it's died a lot. I believe there's only in the low teens left. that it just goes to show how powerful it is. If it's fed cap, it can, like the Rabisu, have 5 or 6 large reppers and keep a whole team alive while sustaining such a massive tank. Its weaknesses we've seen is Nosses and Newts, because the moment it gets capped out, it dies in a ball of fire.
Suetonia, there are a lot of 80 ships that we used to see but don't see anymore, possibly because of the limit on uniques. For example, I remember the Cambion, double Cambion was a staple of the 80 meta for quite a long while. Do you think the Cambion is still relevant and still possible to bring, or do you think that it's kind of a waste of points if you can't back it up with an Etana?
Yeah, I kind of think it's a waste of points if you can't back it up with Natana. I think the Cambion also is one of those ships that you want to field in pairs. Normally you like to bring double Cambion, Natana, or if you could bring 2 of the same unique, you'd bring like double Cambion Basilisk.
Do you think that perhaps with the return of T2 combat drones, we might see the first appearances of the Chameleon or the Whiptail? You know, based on the Gila and the Worm, those are the ECM variants of the Interceptor, and the Cruiser there. Do you think we might see those this year with T2 combat drones, or are they just too weak and there's a reason we've not seen them before?
We could definitely see them. I think the Chameleon's pretty strong. I think the Whiptail also is really underestimated because not only is it a better worm that has the same speed as a crow, it costs 1 point less because it's an interceptor instead of a pirate frigate.
Yeah, I remember there was a great solo PvP video out with a Whiptail a while ago. I can't remember who flew it, but I definitely enjoyed watching it. Still, next match coming up, really exciting match here. Battle of 2 Russian teams. It's going to be Vidra Reloaded versus Out of Sight. Vidra's name there, made exclusively to screw up commentators who are used to so many reloaded teams. So we've got Vidra Reloaded, typically considered to be one of the top Alliance tournament teams. Maybe not, you know, a top 4 team, but certainly a top 8, top 16 team, one of those gatekeepers to the final weekends. Going up against Out of Sight, you know, a team that until recently, they may even still love up in Venal, doing a lot of PvP action up there. What are your guys' thoughts about this upcoming match, Vidra versus Out of Sight?
I think it's one of the matches you're going to see quite a lot of quality in, because both these teams have done fairly well. I think this match is going to be a match where you're going to see a little bit more of the meta gaming and the anti-meta gaming going on. People thinking, oh, this is what's in the meta, we'll try and counter that. It's something to look forward if you like the Theorycraft.
Suetonia?
Yeah, I think Vidra are a lot stronger this year as well. They've been scrimming with Hydra. They've also absorbed a lot of the old pilots from the Afterlife, which has bolstered their already strong core team.
So looking at the comps they brought in their last match, the match they won, Vidra Reloaded brought the NBC core. They had a Balgorn on top of it, so it's a Balgorn and Aeris, double Brutix Navy, a Harb Navy, a regular Harb, because points are quite difficult when you're slapping that Balgorn on the top, double Purifier, double Daredevil, so a ton of extra damage, and that Daredevils for the 9% webs. Up against that, Out of Sight brought a team that we've seen less of, but still certainly makes sense. They brought a shield team, Scimitar, Hugin, double Gila, double Serb, double VNI, Bifrost, Morse. They're kind of mixing in drones with rapid lights in a kind of a nice synergistic way. The Hugin, typically not considered very strong in the AT setting. So what, Suetonia, what do you think about that Out of Sight setup with the Hugin in?
It doesn't sound all that optimized to me. I also have to question the Maulus, especially this year. It's even weaker than it was before because with the changes to sensor boosters and remote sensor boosters, now you don't have to worry about fielding remote ECCM and local sensor boosters or sensor boosters. Now they're all stacked into one module, so you can swap to counter it.
So do you think that might be a reason that we'll see even more ECM, even less ECM this year as past? We have seen a little bit of ECM, but not perhaps those comps that are absolutely dedicated to ECM control.
Yeah, I think ECM is still strong, but it's definitely a lot weaker, a bit weaker than it was before because you don't have to worry about damp so much anymore, and the sensor booster just has everything in it that you want now with the ECCM scripts.
Yeah, now Brett, I want to ask you about the NBC core. As you know, we're seeing kind of 2 versions of it kind of maintaining its strength. We see the version with the Balgorn. Obviously, with the massive increase to points, the Balgorn is something like 5 points more than it was last year between the increase to battleship points and the fact that it's not a Blood Raider sponsored tournament anymore, which gave it that point reduction. By adding the Balgorn in, you have to really drop your bottom end. So as we see there, it was double Purifier or double Daredevil, 3 and 2 points respectively. However, we are also seeing people go, okay, the Balgorn's just too much. It's too expensive. We'll just run 4 actual NBCs with a solid support wing and the T2 Logi, kind of just really focusing on that NBC core, maybe providing that web control support through Daredevils, through Hyenas. Do you personally have a preference of whether you like to have the BAL, or you think it's better to have a better support wing, or do you think both are equally viable?
I think you definitely need to choose each comp for what you're going to go up against. I think the Balgorn allows you to face some of the more traditional comps or some of these weird comps very well, because as we've seen, if you're going against a battlecruiser core, the Balgorn web's so long that it just instantly hits stuff like all the bombers. The bombers get deleted off the field and you begin to hold stuff very well. So if you're going to go without a BAL, you need your low end really needs to win the fight. You need to delete a lot of the smaller ships that are causing you problems and just generally snowball from there.
Yeah, so we do actually have available to have a look at the flagship Armageddon, which Spectre Fleet Alliance lost in the last match. Here it comes up. Suetonia, why don't you run us through this fit?
Okay, so in the highs, he's got 5 dead space neutralizers, 1 X-type, and then 2 X-type and then 3 B-type, presumably the B-type that are there for fitting because X-type is harder to fit than B-type. Then also a large Trusantia EMP smart bomb to kill drones. The auto-targeting system is kind of interesting. You might wonder why that's there. It actually gives you an extra 2 base locked targets. So he wants to be able to lock the entire enemy team and maybe one of his own allies if he has rep bots to put onto his own friends. He has it doesn't even have he has a large ancillary armor repper instead of a dead space large rep. I presume that's because of fitting restraints. And otherwise, doing pretty standard mid-run Armageddon. Large cap battery is kind of interesting too, though. Hopefully, looks like he's trying to win the cap war there because those don't really provide all that much for battleships aside from the nuke resistance that it...
I mean, the Armageddon does pose an interesting choice, as it is theorized, though I can't remember a match where I've seen it happen, that a flag Armageddon versus a flag BAL, perhaps the Armageddon, if it has the range advantage, it can mute out the Balgorn, with the Balgorn not being able to be in range to counter you. Obviously, the Balgorn, if it gets its Nosses on the Armageddon, it has those infinite Nos, so it becomes very, very difficult to cap out a Balgorn when it's Nossing a larger ship. But if the Armageddon sat at range with that native range bonus, perhaps the Armageddon can outperform a Balgorn in that very specific outcome. But I mean, personally, I think I'd prefer the BAL just because those webs are so powerful. If you manage to source a seller and then have the ISK for the Toby webs, then you're really going to be able to achieve a lot there. We've got about 3 minutes here before the match between Vidor Reloaded and Out of Sight. In the other system, you guys, I'm sure, have been enjoying watching Goonswarm versus Blades of Grass. We're not quite sure how that's been going, but I'm sure it's been a fantastic match, as all the matches have been thus far today. So let's do a very quick prediction run. Vidor Reloaded versus Out of Sight. Brett Thomas.
I'm going to go with Vidor Reloaded, just because I think with their placement last year, I think they're going to do really well.
My Twitch is broken, so I can't currently see what your guys are saying in the audience, but we will go into the match shortly. What are your looking forwards today, guys, Suetonia and Brett? What are the matches you think that people should be especially tuning in for? You know, maybe people got some errands to run, they can't sit and watch the whole day like some of us do. You know, what are the matches going forward that you're really looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to Thermodynamics versus Exodus. These are 2 really strong teams that are very heavy on execution. Maybe don't have the theory crafting there to be the top god teams, but a match between 2 teams where they're all out, best piloting that you'll see is going to be fun to watch.
Still, how about you, Brett? What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to, I believe it's the next match. It's Ronin versus Test, is it not?
It is.
I am really looking forward to that because Test is a team that's done quite well in previous tournaments, and they may look shaky this year, but we do know they have the potential. So I'm looking forward to them playing against the Ronin, who is a team which has a massive pedigree. Everybody knows who they are. Yeah. So it's a unexpected fight of a couple of heavyweights, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, let's go straight to the match here between Vidor Reloaded and Out of Sight. We'll hand it over to the casters for 80-15.